The first question to ask when looking at a curriculum is if it has all the essential components of a solid, research-based reading development program. And by that, I mean, does it cover the phonics? Does it cover the phonological awareness? You want to look for these key terms, phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. You also want to look at the comprehension component of the program. Does it go beyond just questions like what color jacket was the character wearing? You want it to include questions that allow children to make inferences and to make connections to text. So those are some things to look at when you're reviewing curriculum. Look for those key components and phrases. And if there's a curriculum that you are really drawn to, and this is something that will work for your family, but it's missing, like maybe the phonemic awareness, for instance, isn't that strong. And if you're curious about what phonemic awareness is, and that's a new term for you, I really encourage you to hang out because I will be covering that in future episodes. I also have some shorts available that cover that. And so I invite you to hang out and learn all about that top skill that is really a long-term reading predictor. But in any case, if it's a little bit shallow, it doesn't go too deep into phonemic awareness, that's not strong, there are ways that you can definitely supplement that in your program. So again, just be aware. You want to look for the reading comprehension component. Is it a strong reading comprehension that includes questions outside of just regurgitating information? You want to look and see, especially for littles, is it teaching those phonological skills and phonemic awareness skills? You want to look at the structured literacy component as well. Does it really teach how to crack that code? Look at reviews. Don't be afraid to talk to other parents that maybe have used this curriculum, maybe even changed to another curriculum. Ask them why. Maybe that's a reason for you to reflect on. Doesn't mean that it won't work for you. But again, these are great ways for us to really reflect and think about what we're using in our homeschool program. And again, if it's missing any component, there's ways to supplement that. I encourage you to check out my videos on my sister channel, Dr. Deanna's Learning for Littles, where I do a lot of phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, and of course that systematic phonics instruction. Moving on, next, what is the background? This is a question that you really should give some consideration to. The background of the person who is developing this curriculum. You do want to look at the background of the person or people, the team, the company that developed this curriculum. What is their track record? What is their background? Is it research-based? What is it founded in? Do they use, again, those phonics? You really want to be careful when it comes to things like whole language, if you see anything like that. Also, a term that we are shying away from these days, things like balanced literacy and writer's workshop, things like that. You want to look out for those terms. Now, it doesn't mean those things won't work for you or your child. And again, you know your child best. Recent discussions have led us to understand and dialogue about how some of these systems really ended up doing our children a disservice overall. Because like I mentioned in the beginning of my video, 90% of children do need phonics to crack that code. We do have 10% that are not needing that phonics instruction. They are just basically able to absorb written text. I personally was one of those children, but most children need that. And so we want to make sure that children have what they need. And that's one thing to look into, the background. And on a personal note, you want to know the background of the curriculum as far as values. If you are very faith-based, you want to give consideration to any faith-based values or principles that are being expressed in the curriculum. And that, again, it's a great thing to get online and dig into conversations with other homeschool parents or other parents who have gone down the road with that curriculum and can tell you more about it. So with that, let's move on to the third point. The third thing that I would consider and reflect upon when deciding which curriculum I am using at home to teach a child to read would be to really ask, what specific needs or special considerations does my child have? It could be anything from they are very hands-on learners, they need a lot of interactive learning. Does the program provide that? If they have some challenges, if they have a diagnosis such as dyslexia or dysgraphia, you want to look at what the program offers for those specific needs. And I can tell you that some programs, they really cater to those types of situations. And that doesn't necessarily mean they work for every child and every family that has those considerations. So again, you really want to dig into what others' experiences have been. And we live in a day and age where there is so much out there, but that's definitely a question to look into and ask as you make this very important decision. And of course, I'm here every step of the way to support you. I love to have families reach out and let me know, first of all, if what I'm sharing with you or helping you with is getting you along the way. But I also love to hear your questions because this is really meant to be a service for families. I have a huge passion for parents and families, caregivers that are really looking to do the best they can for their littles at home. And I would love to walk alongside you in that journey. So if you haven't already, you might as well subscribe. You're here. And I have so much more coming up to share based in research, based in experience, and a compassion as a fellow mom and homeschooler myself. All right, and with that, I'll see you next time when I teach to your super learning strengths, one child and family at a time.